course. And essentially, we're going to be talking a little bit more in regards to how to optimize your application materials. And we're going to break this down a little bit more, and we'll cover exactly what these materials look like and how you can leverage these resources as ammunition to get more job opportunities and help accelerate your job hunt. So moving forward, we're going to break it down to a 5-day course overview. So just starting off with day one, we're going to be focusing on what we're talking about right now, which is particularly optimizing your application materials, which is your CV, your cover letter, your resume, your social media assets, anything that's outside of anything that you use in order to actually just get some more opportunities under your belt. Number two, or day two, is going to be maximizing your chances of landing an interview. This is a very important course channel, and we're going to be going really deep into how to actually land these opportunities by communicating well with confidence, and using the right verbiage, and also being able to handle objections overall, even just handling rejections as well too, taking constructive feedback and criticism to help optimize for getting the most out of hitting these different interviews as well too. So number three, or day three, is going to be actually closing on these interviews, or you can use the word acing. So essentially, this means that you go through the interview process and you successfully get your recruiter to provide you with the opportunity to get approved for the offer. And that is also a pretty lengthy process as well too. But again, it has to do with sales, pitching yourself, being confident, and also following up rigorously. That is something that a lot of people simply just don't have the patience for, and they allow their personal emotions to kind of get involved with the process of getting that ideal job offer that they want, because sometimes they do 4 out of 5 things correct, and then the fifth component might be just maybe waiting an extra 30-40 days for the recruiter to get back to you, and not maybe just spending every day sending them emails. You have to be strategic with these things. So learning on how to ace and close these interviews is also very important. Day 4 is case study assessments, where we talk particularly about different individuals, what their circumstances were before they actually met us, versus how we were able to help them through the process of when they use our resources, our coaching, our insights, our community, etc., just to get that offer. And number 5 is negotiating visa sponsorship. So speaking to business owners specifically, or getting involved with different corporate entities, you need to understand that it's not just about landing your specific offer that just is your dream job. Sometimes you have to work your way up this ramp and either get 1 out of 3 things or 2 out of 3 things, or work your way around to actually focus on what's the most important thing for you and your journey, or your deadlines or expectations in general. So making sure that if you do require one, that you get that visa sponsorship, it is very important as well. So we will be talking about how to strategically screen, probe, and also make sure that you're getting the right frameworks and set up to make sure that you have the best process to get that smooth job acquisition process as well. So again, our main thing is to just simplify everything. These are all really cool things that we do, but of course the reality is we've built this entire program and curriculum to help serve our community at You Can Hire, and specifically helping international students accelerate their job hunt. So as we get more involved into, again, like I said, you guys have probably seen this information from our previous video as well, from our intro, but the results from our strategies are relative. And essentially, when we do get into a position where we are talking more about placement rates, the average salary, and the average days to even get placed, it is relative to how fast you can implement these strategies. Just like Manpreet, Krish, and Kieran, and all of the other case studies that are also listed within the bio page in our Skool community, you'll understand that they have one common denominator and something that's very similar, a similar trait, and that's actually having the resilience to continue to actually just show up every day and get continue to actually get output. So what I mean by that in very simple terms is, if you're going to simply just take, let's say, 2 or 3 days out of the month in order to actually get, to take time out to actually do your application processes, someone that is a little bit more less qualified than you, that's going to actually show up every day, is probably going to likely land that job offer faster than you, because they showed up every day, they did more output, and they're just being a lot more aggressive with it. So with these three individuals and all the other individuals like Harleen, Manpreet, and all these other individuals as well too, our focus is to just simply get them more process into that comfort zone. And when they do actually get that process going, and they essentially get all of the right notions into place, where their placement rates are relatively high and their salaries are in a position where they can actually start off in a good base and also work their way up as well too. And then most importantly, the days to getting placed is all going to be relative, again, to how fast you actually implement all of our strategies. So moving forward, the agenda is to look at your application materials and make sure that everything is organized correctly. And if it isn't, then you guys can directly use this video and make those changes as we proceed. Second thing, making sure that your cover letter and your resume is optimized for your optimal spot. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I covered that in our previous video, but it covers basically 3 grids or areas that allow you to find a good region within what you do, your skill sets, and most importantly, the environment that you want to work in as well. And most importantly, optimizing your LinkedIn. Again, LinkedIn is probably one of the most important social media assets to considerably keep clean and constantly build on top of as you try to land these opportunities. But again, I don't want to underestimate other avenues as well, like your Instagram, your Facebook. It is important to make sure that you keep every panel of your social media bureau clean, because nowadays, again, even me as someone that hires very often, very frequently for our tech companies as well too, I do probe into their social media panels as well too, and ensure I learn a little bit more about what they do, and also make sure that we can get more optimal hires and people that are aligned with what we do as a company. Make sure that we're bringing the right people as well. So moving forward, your application materials are, again, your cover letter, your resume, and most importantly, your social media assets. We've covered this slide as well too. Again, if you guys want to just take a peek before as well too, and just make sure you guys get on the same page, we do cover this process in our previous intro. So I'll just say it one more time. Again, your cover letter, your LinkedIn, and your social media assets. Okay, so the bar is much, much higher for you. And what I mean by that, there's going to be quite a bit of competition. You are competing with everybody that is currently heading into the, passing post-secondary, graduation, and just getting into a process where they want to start landing jobs. They start going through the interview process. And this is not just international students. Mind you, these are people that are actually even born here as well. So again, in terms of numbers, skill sets, and most importantly, experience, references, and all these other things that do get in the way of landing the ideal roles and opportunities, we have to make sure that we have a competitive edge when it comes to getting into the marketplace for getting a job. So there's absolutely no room for having an average cover letter or resume. if you choose to cut corners, leave specific attributes, skills, very personable things about yourself out from your cover letter and your resume in the appropriate pockets, you will lose out on having that competitive edge. Second, you cannot have an unprofessional LinkedIn. And this also goes for your Instagram, your Facebook, and any other open platforms like Twitter. I know that, if you're going for government, federal jobs or, specific opportunities that require stage one, stage two clearances or stage three, they're going to look into a lot of your social media postings. So mind you, if your LinkedIn shows one thing about, your passion about space technology and other things of that nature. Let's say that's just one pocket and you're trying to land a job within the aerospace engineering vertical, and then your Facebook is everything to do with anime and let's say guns. Let's say you're into armory or like weaponry, and that's just something that you like, and it's just completely different, and there's a lot of unprofessional things on that page. Is not of a lot There's not a lot of alignment, and what I mean by that is just one very simple type of example. Another example is you putting out a tweet, something that's inappropriate and or something that might backfire to you as well too in the future. You want to keep you want to keep your social media relatively clean. Again, it's up to you what you guys want to put on it, but like I said, I've seen opportunities come and go just because of the way things look like and the way they're staged as well. So please, guys. And again, this covers the third pocket, which is, again, your social media should not have any red flags. You guys can fill in the gaps, stories, posts, tweets, things that you share, things that you comment. Mind you, everything is trackable. So, please make sure that you guys keep a relatively clean footprint on social media. And if you want to ensure that you don't have any inconsistencies through your hiring outputs, I highly recommend that you guys make sure that you guys look into these things before you choose to post, like, comment, etc. Okay. So moving forward now, we'll talk about this very briefly. Like I said, we spoke about this in the previous slide, but having in your optimal spot and figuring out what that actually is for you is extremely important. And before you go and do anything else that we actually try to get you guys to implement, which is these these training processes and these frameworks, etc. Again, what your optimal spot is having the right role, the right industry, and the right company type or economics. What this means is, again, this means what you have to do your own market research. It's very simple. It may take some time for you to actually figure out what it is that you like, the industry that you want to serve based off of what you've graduated with. And this is not going to be something that you're actually going to get down right away. Relatively, it took me like over a year to figure out the things I like, the industry, the types of companies that I like to work. Obviously, I ended up doing all these things and wanted to kind of work for myself. And again, some of you might even go and want to do that and try to, work in startups and then eventually become your own founder. But the reality is having either 2 out of 3 is good. 3 out of 3 is really, really good. And 1 out of 3 is also a starting point. It's not bad, but you do have to start somewhere. But if you do get to check off 2 out of 3 of these components as you're going through your job hunt and as you target specific types of recruitment companies or founders, this is something to keep in mind. Okay, so again, we're going to give you guys a quick little example. Manpreet's sweet spot or optimal spot was developed through using her, her role and most importantly, the industry and the company types as well too. As we kind of accumulate all these different things, as you understand, the role is based on, again, her wanting to be in front of, children in the actual environment that she wants to serve as a childhood, caretaker, and also educator as well too. So with that being said, her role is very definitive and she already understands exactly what pocket she wants to be in. Industry will be obviously, the early childhood services, daycares, and other things of that nature as well too. So she knows exactly what industry or pocket she's going to be placed in. And again, she understands the difference between corporate company environments that are larger in scale. And then she also understands what it means to work with private owners and people that have their own business as well too. So her defined interests were specifically towards working with independent businesses or private businesses or practices. So moving forward, let's talk a little bit more about the most important aspect of this entire training today is optimizing your resume and cover letter for your optimal spot. Okay. So before we actually get into what those things look like and why we need to kind of pick them apart, it's really important that we jump onto this process right here. And again, your resume must be perfect. And that's a little bit of an overstretch, but we need to get it close to perfect. And if we're not there, we need to make these adjustments every day, or every time we get an interview or get feedback to make sure we get our resume to a point where, it can be covered within 7 seconds. And this is an average between 7 to 10 seconds is relatively how long I take a look at someone's resume. And I know for a fact, speaking to a lot of recruiters for other companies and founders and CEOs like myself, no recruiter or founder wants to spend more than 5 minutes looking at a cover letter or resume. And if it is that long, you're going to have absolutely no chance in getting anyone to even consider your application or be even remotely interested in learning more about you. If you cannot make it sweet, simple, and concise, you will be overlooked. And that is something that is very, I'd like for you guys to take very seriously as well. So moving forward now, when we break things down, what I mean by having your resume perfect, it needs to be one page, keep it simple. And most importantly, simple language needs to be, it should be very simple to understand and process, using numbers to quantify your impact, by measuring metrics, KPIs, allows, people to really understand the range of impact, right? And how you were able to create outcomes. Bold keywords, always important, right? Helps create impression. Most importantly, emotion as well too. Bold numbers, also really important as well. Strong action verbs. Instead of using passive words like did, helped, managed, developed, organized. These are all the same context, but again, either you can use a strong action verb or you can just be passive and just be holistic with it and not actually go into the process. So these are basically a couple of the components that should be looked into. And when you guys do get all these check marks in, then you guys can see as well too how it all goes into play. So this is a actual resume, and this is a good example of how everything should be broken down. Again, simple and sweet, one page. As you can see, there are 5 major components that are going to be covered. And most importantly, like I said, making sure that you have your contact information at the very top, a very brief summary of your skills. Third, your education. Fourth, work experience. And then fifth, volunteering experience as well. And guys, don't worry about it. We're actually going to break down this entire structure of this resume as well too, so you guys can understand exactly how you can make sense of what you have in terms of experience and things that you've already built out for yourself, and optimize and edit and just make those implementations literally on the call. And you can pause this as well, which is the best thing too. So moving forward, like I said, making sure that you are using the right contact information is so important. I cannot stress this hard enough. Having everything in motion and making sure that all of your resume and your cover letters are organized. But imagine having everything done well, but the recruiter's way of actually reaching out to you first was by calling you for, let's say maybe they called you 2 or 3 times just to actually activate to see how responsive you are to your phone. Maybe this is more of a ground operations based job. Maybe you work for a festival. Maybe you are applying to be someone that works at an airport, which is a very fast paced environment. And if you can't pick up your phone, imagine how imagine how that would impact your the application process. I don't even think you'd get an interview, let alone if they can't even reach out to you. I would, again, personally speaking, as a recruiter myself and giving you guys direct insight, I would probably just ditch the entire application. This goes for your email, and most importantly, putting the correct address of where you actually live is probably going to keep you in safe waters. Definitely, if you're actually going for a government-based role, security, let's say you're working for, again, good example, the airport. Your address says one thing, but then again on your resume it says a completely separate thing. It just shows that there's not a lot of updates, unclear, and it can cause a lot of confusion or unclarity. So something as simple as just making sure your contact information and your full name and all these things are so important. Mind you, this is how people get this is how people get a hold of you as well too. And again, this goes for your email as well. Same thing, guys. Okay. Moving forward now, a summary of your skill sets, and this, guys, can be specifics, certificates, different types of achievements, different types of, let's say, niche skills that you've developed from either sports, extracurriculars, maybe something that you've learned growing up at managing your business, or something within a volunteer work environment. Um, Organizing 4 to 5 bullets of your highest ranking skill sets is going to be very important, and not putting anything that is outside of context and something that isn't going to actually add on to the benefit of the recruiter looking at your application, be like, whoa, this is kind of a cool skill. um that's one thing as well. So let me give you guys a very simple example. Okay, so we have some students right now, some international students that we actually are currently helping out, and we actually got them a job into one of our other tech companies. And essentially they want to transition from a general labor Amazon working factory, which what they've been doing for the last 2 years, and they want to take they want to transfer their skills from business development management, etc., from what they graduated within college, and land their first opportunity within some sort of customer service based business admin role. And that goes both ways. And what I kind of developed here was a process where we got them to actually jump into um, working with us at our ticketing company. And the objective, or the overview of this role was to simply handle customer support one on one at a venue, an actual sporting venue, which is specifically for cricket, and essentially process tickets, get people to purchase them, also answer any inquiries, questions, concern, mitigate angry customers, and most importantly, track data and report back to superiors. Again, the summary can be put together in saying, being able to or proficient in managing high volume of crowd and being able to process them and handle customer support. And you can simply put into a more compact sentence where you can say that, hey, you are proficient at working in sporting environments for or entertainment environments, and handling high volume of crowd and just processing them over through the right standard operating procedure. This can be summarized also into crowd management and being proficient in different areas. Again, it's not exactly the direct thing that you're doing. It's the overview of the impact of that skill in general. So really take time to make sure that this stands out, because if you're just simply using random things, like, or if you're just using something that's just at the bottom as well too, which is something very normal that everyone has, which is just the languages you speak, like, you really have to bring something else to the table nowadays. Stand out, guys. Think deeper into what you guys have done. If you guys have, led a team before, managed or a specific charity fund, or did something very unique, having a summary of that, and it has to be relative to, like, obviously you trying to get another job as well too. So making sure that it aligns with your summary skills is really important. And again, like what Manpreet has done as well too, as you can see at the top, it's more niche to who she is, and as you can see, she's written that she's effectively communicating with children, parents, colleagues to foster positive relationships and teamwork. And this can be in any environment. It can apply to a bunch of different things as well too, specifically for the jobs that she wants to get hired for. But again, it also helps outline the type of person she is, and how they can also perceive, or what they can, possibly get from this new hire as well. So let's get into number 3. Okay. So this is really important. And, again, it's relative, and you have to be honest. And again, whether you're starting off with one pocket, or let's say a specific thing that's just like, going to Humber College, for instance. And if that's the only education you have, of course, you can't put or force other tiers in as well. You just have to be very upfront and very, transparent. So, whether it's degrees, diplomas, certificates, majors, it's very important to put the end and the start date. And most importantly, if you need to add on some more juice and an extra meat to your the education tabloids, there are a bunch of accelerators, certificate-based programs as well too, that help add on to your, just your education. You don't necessarily have to go to a 3-year, 4-year program to add in credentials to your education. You can specialize for a 2-week program specifically on crowd management. You can have a specific education and certification on training sales teams. You can have a specific, an education category that is exclusive to you educating people on getting certified in CPR, right? These are all relative, again, to the most, recent to the least, to the latest date of what you've done. It's important you implement and organize everything in accordance inside this specific tab. So moving forward, again, I don't want to overcomplicate this, because it's either you have you have the credentials available, and if you don't, and you feel like there's more areas for you to actually get some more credentials and some more things that you can put onto your resume, there are a lot of different avenues. And again, even at You Can Hire, we will be providing certificate programs on sales, and different types of things as well too, communication, etc. So you can always add these things into your education tabs as well too. So moving forward, work experience. This is going to get interesting, because again, like I said, everybody comes from a different background, upbringing, and surroundings as well too. So you have to remember that you guys are unique, that your specific value proposition, who you are, and your current work experiences as well too, are all going to be unique. And it's also important that you are honest as well, because again, if you do put on extra layers of job experiences or work experiences aren't true and they get references, you guys can get in trouble and it just tanks your application. So I see a lot of people try to do that. Be honest and work your way through building a decent and respectable resume. Okay. So let's get into the bullet points here. So listing your work experiences in reverse chronological order is going to be the most effective. Again, having the job title slash, company, the organization name, specifically the location, city, state, the dates of employment from the month and the year, and most importantly, just putting in very simple job points in terms of the responsibilities and achievements as well too through the time that you were working at that role. And make sure, guys, it's only one line per bullet point. We don't want to ruin the aesthetics of a resume. Again, it has to be visually appealing. And if you elaborate too much on one thing that could be abbreviated into a very concise sentence, please do that. Do not use big words. Again, I may use big words as well too because I've just been speaking and educating and doing all these different things. But mind you, I know that there's different ways that I can communicate and make things a lot more concise. But for the purpose of making sure your resume is just very simple to digest and look at and read, keep it one line per bullet, please. Sorting out you have to sort out each and every single point of your job experiences and try to understand how it's going to be relevant to your sweet spot. Again, remind yourself, guys, that it's not your sweet spot's not something you're going to get right away, but spending time on at least getting some clarity on what these three pockets or three areas look like will help you narrate your future job experiences and how to also organize your existing job experiences that are either in the past, and organize your job points to help outline and also give you more attention towards the specific jobs you guys want to land. So just saying supervising and engaging children in activities ages 3 to 6 years old could be done in two different ways. You can just simply be like, managed or babysitted, kids from the age of 3 to 6 years old, right? But we added on engaging in children-based activities. Again, it's just how you elaborate. It's how you be a little bit more precise with how you want to translate that specific skill or that role as well, or that specific responsibility within that job offer or that offer or work environment that you were working in. Okay. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Put down all of your work experiences. Doesn't matter if it was, being a valet, parking lot manager for a luxury hotel in Toronto or Las Vegas. It doesn't matter. Put it down, because the more you have, the more people are going to understand that there's efforts, there's time, and there's a level of commitment put towards various opportunities, and that still goes a very long way. Doesn't matter if you're still looking to apply from transition from general labor to now completely remote in business admin. I still would not keep anything out, because the reality is more things here are gonna make you stand out as well too. But making sure that you're not just putting random things in just to fill this page up is also important. But remember, you have a 1-page maximum, so make sure that you put the relative things. Okay, so let's get more into the work experience part. So when we're talking about action verbs, like I said, I touched on it a little bit more before, guys. Being or using words like worked, made, did, involved in are all very simple ways of putting things, but they're extremely passive. And when I say passive, that means it's almost like either you don't care to dive into or use the right word to actually help the person understand exactly what you've done for that that specific circumstance. Because the difference between worked and skilled, when I hear worked, it's like Cool, everybody works. What did you exactly do? Scaled shows that there was a direct positive impact towards what you did there, which helped create a positive line. Scale is always it's a linear positive approach or line. And a lot more, it's a lot more easier on the eye and when the person's reading as well too, because it's something that every business wants to do. Every environment wants to scale progressively. So made is, again, put together, very simple, but the reality is if you actually were part of a development and a rollout strategy for a specific software or a campaign for, let's say, Amazon, and you were a part of this process where you were supposed to create a little bit more better operational guidelines for an AI robot that helps manufacture these boxes or these delivery mechanisms. Saying that you made 5 AI robots or 5 delivery robots for Amazon and you helped grow the business is very stale. Using the word built, deployed, and successfully scaled, like, again, as you can see, these are all positive action verbs, and it helps the employer and recruiter understand exactly what you've done, because these are the types of verbs that you need to elaborate on and also be precise with as well too. Okay, so moving forward, again, I've given you guys an example before as well too. This is a direct example here. Example one is, analyze consumption patterns and build an inventory forecasting model to reduce stock shortages by 50%. That is the right way to actually put that sentence together, because as you can see what it is that he has done and the direct outcome of what he's done, which makes it a complete impact sentence. Okay. The wrong way to actually do this is by saying work with Instagram influencers to sell dresses. That doesn't sound exciting. So the more you can use numbers, action verbs, and a direct analysis of what you did and elaborate on it properly, you will have a lot more. You'll make the recruiter, CEO, founder, whoever the recruitment managers are, a lot more happy and a lot more confident in your abilities when you're able to articulate the right way. So this is, again, guys, very simple stuff, but nobody is properly teaching this. And that's why I feel like going to the basics, optimizing these things, and making sure that we're ready for the interview part and closing interviews, it's important. But before we even get there, we need to make sure that we look the part, we have the resources, and we can talk the talk as well, because this is all relative to how you survive through new opportunities as well. Okay, let's get into it. So let's talk about cover letter structures. Okay, so again, this is also, again, for anyone that doesn't know, a cover letter is a summarized version of your resume. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, why do I need a cover letter? And why can't I just do a cover letter versus a resume? Why can't I do a resume versus a cover letter? And mind you, I used to ask myself that quite a bit as well too. But when I realized, when you're trying to hire the best talent for your company as a founder and CEO, you want to know who you're hiring, because you're spending money, time, resources, allocating all this energy towards hiring a new person to help them get into, the groove of the company and be a good fit, provide skill. You need to understand a summary of, what it is they've done. And you need to also understand whether the person can take their resume and create a very concise cover letter to help summarize their highest, highest valued skill points and attributes, and characteristics as well too. So, like I said, contact information so important. If it doesn't match your resume and it's different from your cover letter, it's a very big mistake. Make sure they're both symmetrical and aligned. Employers' contact information also extremely important. You want to make sure that is all organized there very well. Having some sort of salutations, intro is also very, very important because again, this is a almost like a first person narrative. You're going to be talking, on a first person level. So you're basically kind of creating a little bit of a storyboard and putting everything together in the right context. Having the right introduction. Again, like I'll read it to you guys and give you guys an example. The starting portions can be such as I'm writing to apply for the early childhood educator position at Montessori Daycare. As advertised, with a genuine passion for early childhood development and a solid foundation in child-centered teaching practices, I am eager to contribute to your team's mission of providing nurturing and educational experiences for young children. Mind you, this is again almost like a storyboard, but also an accumulation of exactly what her direct intention is of what she is um, intending to actually apply for, and what the reason really is based off of her interests as well too. So body paragraphs are just an extra layer of breakdown in regards to again like your skills and how you'd be a good fit for as well too. Your closing paragraphs should be a basic benchmark of just like maybe 3 to 4 solid, again, brief summaries of your skill sets and why it would be a good reason for you to actually get into this role as well too. And it helps outline and close things out as well too. And then followed by that, you will have a complimentary close as well too, which will allow the employer to get a little bit more personable and allow you to also put a nice little bow at the end to make sure that you can tie the knot well and also exit this cover letter by tapering the whole conversation down when you actually organize all this information. So I'll read it out to you guys just so you guys can understand what it looks like to have, that complimentary close and all and that entire process. But you guys can you guys can pause the video here, take a look at this, and most importantly, we'll attach this existing cover letter as a PDF so you guys can pull it up as well too for training as well. Okay. So let's move forward now. Let's talk a little bit more about optimizing your LinkedIn and how this also plays a role. And like I said, this is all about optimizing those resources and making sure that if you guys are leveraging good cover letters and resumes, it needs to be backed up by having good social presence. And at the top of that list, it's going to be making sure that you have the right. One moment, I'm just going to move my little bubble over here on the side. It's also to make sure that you are covering the right visual aesthetics and also the compliance when it comes to making sure you aren't creating any red flags or you're leaving specific areas within your LinkedIn unattended, and you're not elaborating or adding different areas to explain more about yourself and what you've done as well. So let's just break it down to 8 simple steps, guys. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. We will be doing revisions and also showcasing some other LinkedIn's as well too, but we'll go through this very quick and simple because I feel like this is what almost everybody is good at doing. And a lot of people spend majority of their time on social media. And if you have any of these social media platforms, you should be able to learn this relatively quickly. And again, we are here to help you, and we will be helping everyone optimize these things as well. So starting off with a professional picture will be very important. As you can see, Manpreet has a nice picture of herself, which, obviously you can remove the background from any other, types of pictures if you don't. But the reality is they should just be able to see your face, and it should be just a nice little smile, and it should be professional. So, secondly, having a clear and crisp profile headline is important. As you can see, there's going to be a breakdown of that as well too. Number three, a short and clear about section is integral. You don't want to have random you don't want to have random information just kind of poking around. Fourth, your experience in chronological order. Again, LinkedIn is kind of like a social media resume. They kind of already build the entire about page just almost like a cover letter or resume, because it kind of binds both things together, and you have to make sure they're identical as well with your CV and resume. Number five, education is perfectly laid out and it's relative, and there, you can actually tag the right programs as well too. Number six is marking your profile as open to work, because again, we're here to land opportunities, accelerate our interview process, and crush interviews. And you should open up your LinkedIn to open to work. And seven and eight is more technological things as well, but they're going to really help you with um, making sure that people can find you and your visibility is a lot more greater, and making sure that your URL is cleaned up, and most importantly, figuring out how to leverage LinkedIn Premium and other softwares that are also free to help accelerate your job search. So we'll break these things down as well too. I don't want to spend too much time here, because I feel like, again, this is something that is should be known, and we'll be sending out smaller looms on how to optimize things in before and after, so people can save time and just quickly make these changes, and if not, get these headshots done, and get those haircuts and get things organized as well too. So let's move forward. So again, like I said, professional picture, as you can see, is just looking at the camera. Can be a plain background as well. If you don't have a headshot, use a nice picture. Download Canva, it's free. Use the background remover. If not, send it over to a friend that knows Adobe as well. If not, send it over to us. We'll just quickly do it for you as well too. Making sure you have a calm, relaxed face with a smile is also very integral. It needs to be a high quality image and no shadows, because again, these are all things recruiters use and also look at before they choose to actually maybe even take a step further. Okay. And I couldn't I couldn't remind you guys how many times I've actually probably taken a step back because someone didn't even have a display picture. And I'm just like, hey, like, I don't think if this person has the time to take out and put a display picture, I don't even think they're a real person. So mind you, it goes a long way. Put the right picture. If you don't have it, get it done, please. Okay. So number two, clear and crisp profile headline. As you guys can see, the formats and the examples on how we actually, roll everything out, as you can see right at the bottom, your headline should be very, very clear. Okay. So if you are already graduated with a specific, let's say, degree, diploma, put that in there, right? Put that in there at the top where everyone can see. And if you are at a role or working at a company, that's something similar to the bottom that you can actually just put layered underneath your LinkedIn as well at the profile headline. And again, you guys don't have to overcomplicate this. Just put two of your highest graduate, certificate programs, or specific, post-secondary, education that you've actually, completed. You can put that there, and then most importantly, your top tier role. This is going to allow someone to kind of gauge just the right away exactly, excuse me, where you're at as well too within your career, and what your highest achievements and education looks like as well too. Okay. So number three, making sure your about section is just short, clear, and concise. We like to use around 400 to 450 words maximum. And again, like I said, if you guys want to see an example, we will click in Manpreet's, LinkedIn as well too, so you guys can take a look at it. But like I said, if you guys are looking to ensure that people don't just get bored, you need to make sure that your about section is not just like you're just keeping things like very technical and factual. Like you just have to add in a little bit more of the truth and just like the facts on your education. But also, as you can see at the bottom where it says committed to providing quality care and education through compassionate teaching and innovative practices. This seems like more of a personal mission outside of just being like, hey, I have this degree and, base my personality and my value based off my degree. It's just not enough nowadays. You do have to be personable and, like I said, make it short, clear, but make it between 400 to 450 words maximum. Okay. The education section is very similar to, LinkedIn has a very specific way of organizing your education. It's done in chronological order. You can add in your specific institution, private, whether it's private, public, or it's like a well-known, renowned, let's say like Harvard or something like that. You want to make sure you put all those things in and make sure that you are including all of your education as well too. So LinkedIn has this really cool process in how they bind their cover letters and resumes as well too, and they make a really cool hybrid balance between both, but also make sure that it aligns with your CV and your resume. You don't want to have like a completely different education or work description on your CV, and then it changes on your resume, and it's completely different on your LinkedIn. It's just gonna throw off the recruiters, and they're gonna think you're not honest about your job experiences and what you've been doing as well. So make sure you guys do that. Again, lastly, open your page to open to work. Okay, it's very simple. You guys can do this on the link on your LinkedIn settings page. Again, if you guys need help on how to do that, we can show you as well. Very simple to do, but make sure it's available to only recruiters, because you're not looking for clients. Sometimes, mostly people in LinkedIn are either looking for people to hire and they are the recruiters. You have to make yourself identify as someone that is looking for recruiters to recruit them and looking for opportunities. So make sure that you define that in your LinkedIn as well. Okay. So moving forward, clean your URL. This is optional and it does make a difference. But again, there are hundreds of thousands of people that are within specific cities, and there are millions of people that are on LinkedIn. So if you do not want to be another Andrew and you're competing with another Andrew, and let's say your recruiter is trying to type in Andrew Sherman, and there's, let's say, maybe 20 of them on LinkedIn in San Francisco, you don't want that recruiter to have a hard time finding you. And if you have a complicated URL, just because, let's say that maybe you signed up extremely late and for some reason, your URL tag is longer than it should be, or let's say that your username has a bunch of numbers, just, you can use specific softwares, and you can clean your URL up as well too through LinkedIn and other different websites as well. Okay. Lastly, getting LinkedIn Premium. This is a super tool, and this is for anyone that has a little bit extra cash on the side that is willing to give the extra juice to their social media engine. LinkedIn Premium, and I'm not going to do the whole breakdown here right now, because again, we'll have separate training videos on how to actually do that, but it's very simple. If you have LinkedIn Premium, things like Sales Navigator as well too, it allows you to optimize on all three fronts. It helps you directly analyze who the recruiters are, and it helps you organize all of them in a manner where you can directly message them instead of having to go through all these different types of first, second, third tier connections. So the second thing is making sure that when you have LinkedIn Premium, it also increases your messaging frequencies. People see your messages a lot more faster. You get to put out a lot more messages per day. And most importantly, it allows you to have a lot more visibility as well too. The reality is, guys, like, you want to maximize the time that you spend on social media. And let's say that you only have an hour to go over your LinkedIn per day. If you have LinkedIn Premium, you can take what takes somebody on a regular LinkedIn um, a LinkedIn search or navigation process or time. Let's say someone that's just like trying to use LinkedIn to find recruiters, they'll probably take maybe 2, 3 hours to send out X amount of applications to recruiters. Whereas when you have LinkedIn Premium or Sales Navigator, you can almost flatten the time down by maybe 2, 3, 4 times. So again, having leverage, and once you have the extra cash and you want to invest into this, this is very important as well. So you should look into it, guys. Okay. Moving forward, what I'd like for you guys to keep in mind is there's no room for mistakes, but mistakes will happen. And again, spelling mistakes is one thing, but that significantly reduces your chances of an interview, because again, if you can be negligent on something that is as easy as just looking over your resume and it's something that you're sending out to people who are going to potentially hire you, pay you, invest into you, if you can't simply just double check and make sure that there's no grammatical errors in your resume, might go a long way. I know it sounds crazy, but it will work. Proofread, and like I said, it's the same thing from before as well. And be very intentional about what you put in your LinkedIn, your about page, your bio, extra content, things that you share, how you communicate is very important. And most importantly, think about what the hiring managers and recruiters want to see and put exactly that in your profile. So if you actually just go on Reddit, or if you go on YouTube and you just simply look at all the companies that you prospectively want to work for, or companies that are like that, and just actually try to gather as much information in regards to how those specific companies hire. Like a company like Salesforce, specifically for a account executive job, or like someone that's just handling accounts, doing sales, you probably want to make sure that you outline your highest ability to sell, you know, and you don't want to make the entire your entire profile, or let's say your delivery, your way of delivering your insights and how you want to speak, on a completely different spectrum. So making sure that you understand what you want to see in yourself if you were to hire yourself for the same position, you're a recruiter, and what you want to hear, you need to put yourself in the recruiter's position. And in simpler words, don't overcomplicate and try to be someone you're not, because the reality is, if you can align with your existing skills and exactly what you're looking for, and you actually hit your optimal spot, you'll find that you don't necessarily have to jump out of who you actually are to be respected and get hired, and get these opportunities as well. So this is, guys, not a 1 day thing. This can take 30, 60, 90 days, and it's not a rush, because the reality is we are looking for opportunities for a long term. And this is not something that is done overnight, because the reality is people want the right people to work for them at their company, as much as you guys also want to find the right opportunities as well. So being patient is going to go a very long way. Moving forward now, the next step is to scan this QR code. And if you guys scan this QR code, you guys will actually be taken right to the next school community as well, to actually access all the other recordings. And that will be the most important process. So if you guys enjoyed this, again, it's a very brief, I could break down this a lot more further, but again, if you're seeing this now and you finish, that means that you guys have a lot of work to do, and you guys can directly take action steps, because all of the resources, PDFs, and every single action step is laid out for you to literally start doing or going outbound to getting more interviews today. And we will be doing weekly masterminds as well. So with that being said, I'll conclude today's training, and we'll see you on day 2.